Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. I would like to share my Seaside Journal that I just finished with you, and it is one of two. It's a hardcover that I use the background fabric, pale blue dupioni silk, and a vintage lace runner. I was going to use an antique table runner that was linen, but the design, it was too big to work well with this size journal. So I opted for, I had dyed some other items, this pretty pale kind of aqua teal, and so I just used several of those along with some laces that I dyed along with it. So before I get started, I'd like to mention some of the digital designers, the kits that I used in this, and I used bits and pieces of most of them. To start off, I used Sea Treasures by Poole Designs. I love that kit. I had to incorporate some of those beautiful images. Artycraftyprintables, Thetornpage, Brush Art Designs, Ruby&Pearl, Catscuriocreations, CherylFrancis, NostalgicJournaling, PrintscapeJourneys, TraceyFox, TatteredRosePaperCo, SweetPeaCuriosities, NorthernSimplicities, and GiraffeCreative. And that's just all that I've written down. There are bits and pieces from other designers. Also, a few things from GraphicsFairy. So, yeah, I just dyed a separate piece of lace to put on here, and I left the top, instead of cutting it, I left it long so it could just kind of flap over to something different, or the person who's getting this can cut it off or tuck it in. And I used a little natural cheesecloth and this beautiful image, and I just did a couple little silk ribbon roses, not really concentrating on that, but it's to incorporate or to flow with the colors inside the journal, the papers, because I used some pinks and corals and teals and dashes of purple here and there, so I just wanted to kind of bring it to the cover. And I put a seagull charm up here, and the name of this journal is just simply Seaside. And then a little sand dollar charm that I did a little verdigris treatment on. And again, with this journal, I did use the clasp that that I had learned on a video. And I used, I made a beaded dangle, glass beaded dangle, and just some of the fibers and laces that I used inside the journal, and tied it with some sari. Make sure I'm in. Okay. So I would always collect sea glass, or what I call mermaid's tears. You have to look up the story. It's a cute story. Along the lakeshore of Lake Michigan here where I live. And I incorporated or tossed a few here and there in this journal. And I made a writing board, and I just used a digital paper of sand up close and some starfish. But because this journal is filled and some pages are kind of lumpy, I thought a writing board would come in handy. I used a lot of vintage lace. This is a vintage lace. This is a newer lace surrounding that. This is a vintage, very delicate lace, one of my absolute favorites. I don't have much of that left, but I do enjoy using it in my journals. This is a vintage lace. And under this little pocket thing, I added some journaling cards, and these large seashells I printed off to journal on. Most of the backings I just printed a sandy color. and I just left it loose because I like this kind of seaweedy. So, and if she can either cut that off, trim it, or tack it down here with a little glue if she wishes. I put a little cheesecloth under this sign, sail away from me. No, sail away with me. Okay. I did put a few sayings throughout, and I love the vintage images like from Sam Poole and such, so I did use that as just a flip out for some writing space. And I used, while I was making this, I found a die cut on Amazon, and it was of seashells, and so I quickly ordered it. And of course, Amazon, you get it next day. So I got to cut out several of those, and I used them as tabs. The pages that I don't have the shell tabs, I do have laces. Lots of seashells in here. A Day at the Beach Restores the Soul, vintage lace, and a Tim Holtz die. It reminded me of the grasses whenever you're at the dunes, you know, the tall grasses. That just reminded me of that. And just some vintage gals enjoying their time at the beach. Journaling cards. After this is just a brown paper packaging from Amazon. Since I seem to have lots of it. And some more girls, ladies, enjoying their beach time. Don't you just love the swimsuits? Oh, Lordy. Everything good and everything magical happens in summer. And here on this card, I did a die. This lady seemed like she was just thinking of good memories at the beach, sea memories. She probably trekked up the dune. And then I did put in just some some empty envelopes from different sources that I'd already had made up, because I found in my own journaling experience, I love to put mementos in envelopes. And this is just a fish charm and some vintage lace. It's got a little piece of embroidery on it. I love that. And I'm not sure what fabric that is. I think it's silk. And this shell just flips down to write. And this seashell holds several journaling cards. And a vintage doily that I dyed along with all the tealish, aqua teal items. Journaling cards. And the gal who bought this she got to go, which some of you I'm sure have done, but I haven't. She got to go whaling, and she got to touch a whale. I think that's pretty neat. And just some tissue paper. And a lot of these pages I just did not want to cover up. They're so pretty. She does have little diamond earrings, stud earrings. And just some vintage music paper. And under this card is another place to journal. And here's another little piece of sea glass with some very fine cotton. And then a few more pictures of ladies enjoying themselves at the beach, some vintage photos. I'm not sure, there might be Sam's, I'm not sure. I do have a couple collections of the vintage ladies. And here's a piece of my trim from my Crazy Quilt days and some old French lace. I love that lace. And here's a little beach house where you can go in and change your clothes. some cottages along the shore. And this is on the back I did put an old envelope just to, because the color was blue, I liked it. But this isn't actually a paper clip, it is a bookmark. But there are some kind of grungy pages. I dyed with the blue, the butterfly, no, I can't think of it. The pea flower, butterfly pea flower. When you dye with it, it's a tea. It turns blue. And you can add lemon or some acidic something, and it turns purple. So I dyed some blue stuff with that. Anyway, I just used it. Kind of looks like a hidden paper clip, but it's not. As you can see, it's loose. So I just put that in there to snug it up a little bit. Okay, some vintage lace that I dyed. I love this trim. I've got one more little piece for the next sea journal. And then that's the end. I've been holding on to that for a long time. I don't know why. This is the perfect place to use it in the 2 sea journals. A little bit of vintage lace, one of my favorites. I just have bits and pieces of that. Plenty of room for journaling. Plenty of journaling cards. Oop. I did a little bit of embossing. I found a rope or a netting embossing plate or folder. So I got that to emboss a few pages. A little boy playing on the seashore with his boat. The rest of that doily. And here is the little, a little bit French, Rhonda. She showed us how to do those, and I think they're so cute. I was going to resin it, but I kind of like it plain for especially a beach journal or sea journal, kind of rough and natural. And then I just put a vintage doily piece behind it, a paper, like those paper doilies. And here's another piece of that old lace. I love that. And this is just a little Velcro shell that she can write a little hidden message in. And then this is the SweetPeaCuriosities, her showgirls. I think it is. Oh dear, I think it is. I've got several in here. I love those. And then a little saying. And here's a very, very, very old sequin trim that I've had for many years. And it just reminded me of when you throw a pebble on a sunny day and the water just has that sparkle like diamonds. That's what it reminded me of. That and fish scales. But the sparkling sounds much better than the fish scales. Okay, here's an anchor, and it has this little sailor boy, and he's got his little ships, dreaming of being a sailor one day. And this saying just is a journaling card underneath. And this, I was going to do something else here, but it didn't work out, so I just use this anyway. So that can be just left there for something dimensional, a little texture, or it could be tossed or whatever. Some old vintage trim. I love that lighthouse. We have a lighthouse near us. I believe it's the only one, because I'm in the dip of Indiana, or Lake Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So we just have one little lighthouse. This is just a plain rusty paper clip, but on this page, you can still write notes on that. But this is just some old music, Summerland. and then a journaling card, and then just a piece of tracing paper that I had printed to add a little bit more blue. Oh, get back there. There we go. Just something simple. Another very old vintage lace. And these can come out, and you can write little notes on the back. Cute little girls in their bathing summertime attire. And this doily, I just folded it over, which she can take it off here with this little thing. And this is, I use the stuff that I can never think of. Mica for that slide. I can't remember. I think that's Sam Poole's slide, but I'm not sure. Her die, I think. I could be wrong. I do have hers, but I also have another one. But I think that's it. But I did children and a couple girls playing hopscotch or leapfrog. And another little envelope, and then a journaling card that I just tucked under this part, which of course she can remove if it doesn't, she doesn't like it there. And then underneath all of them, here's the whales again. That's upside down. And some other journaling cards. These have little messages on them. I love them. And a piece of sari that, oh, that's not going to work. A piece of sari that has some gold polka dots in it that I paired up with a vintage lace. Piece of paper and some more tracing paper. Some bottles. Another piece of vintage lace with a seahorse. And then this little dangle, which she can write a note on the back. And then some music, write a seahorse. And this I embossed with that rope embossing folder. And then ocean, and then some whales. And I just tucked that. It's a very shallow tuck, but it still works. So, and I just put some vintage lace there for texture. Kind of reminded me of waves, that foamy waves that comes to shore. And under this is a few smaller journaling cards. A little bit of lace trim. And this, I made one of these when my first, uh-oh, what's going on here? Whoop. Oh, I bet when I put the the sea glass here, I must have caught one of them. Anyway, I made these. I love them, so I made them for each of the journals. It's a journaling card, but it has tiny piece of coral, some seashells in it, and a few little sequins to look like the little sparkling foam. And that just tucks in here. There we go. And under this card is a lady with a mom and daughter getting ready to go swim. They must have changed in those little houses that they had at the beach in the Victorian days. This piece of lace, I don't know what pattern. It's actually a pattern, but it doesn't really make sense. It just looks like old netting, like fish netting. But I thought that was so pretty, and I put that on the side. And under this bird is, I believe, a SweetPeaCuriosity seagull. I hope that's who that is, because there's two of them that, like, there's, oh boy, I don't know. I have to write it when I find. I have to look it up. Just some little bling on this eyelet lace. a hidden paper clip, one of Tracy Fox's ideas. And I have a metallic little charm here, which is a seashell, and just some pieces of lace and fabric, and a big journaling card of the shells. And under here, or in here, I just have that little lady who's swimming in the ocean, very happy. Happy as a clam. And that just tucks in there. Hop in there, lady. Okay. I could be sitting there all day long, as long as I have a couple bottles of water. And in this little pocket, I have a couple sayings and a couple of journaling cards. I do like to put in lots of journaling cards because I know I use mine up. I write up most of my things on journaling cards, and then I go to the pages. Some dyed vintage lace, which I think came from the edge of a pillowcase, and just some more journaling cards, a handful of sea glass, another little story, some vintage lace, and just a nice place to write. I'll tie that later. And a nice big pocket filled with larger cards to write on, of just a bunch of friends or sisters enjoying their time at the beach. And here's another. This I did with the polka dot embossing folder, and this with the rope. Now, let's put those over here, because this is a little tiered. I bought a die that looked like it was waves, 3 different sets of waves, this set, but they're really tiny, which is fine for this, but they're really a lot smaller than I thought they were. I should have made 2 sets maybe, but this works just fine, but they go in here. I just thought they were a little bit bigger. And then this little one goes in here. And then this is just an envelope paper cameo. I forgot I did not mention her. That is her inside, just a couple small journaling cards. And this pretty piece of lace, I only have like 9 inches of that, so I use it very sparingly, but it looked like waves, so I had to put it in here. Yeah, it's 1 page. And this is a piece of vellum that I printed on, so it's nice and vibrant. It's a cottage by the sea. And this is the 3rd and last signature. It has 3, and it just has a lot of journaling cards. There's an oyster, and a lot of stuff falling out, and a tracing paper envelope from Paper Cameo that has little seashells and little cards in it to write. Let's do this for now. And then just a couple of like oysters and sea things, and then a shell. Okay. And some more pretty vintage delicate lace dyed in that aqua teal color. And I don't know why that's tight. Oh, it's on a curve. Just some journaling cards, like in the flapper days. And this is, I just used the photo, the frames in the old photo albums and I just used it as I put a piece of acetate there and just put a nice journaling card in there. I thought she's pretty. I Googled my symptoms. It turned out I just needed to go to the beach. It happens to me very often. I'm very fortunate to be so close to the lake, which if you've been to Lake Michigan, it's more like, it looks like an ocean, and a lot of people who've come to visit that didn't know any better, you know, not adults, of course, like my cousins and stuff, and just kids of sister-in-laws and such, they would swear that it was an ocean. Anyway, I love this little bathing suit girl. Then a lighthouse. And a little coffee-stained doily with the lady on the front. And then a couple vintage lady journaling cards. Another piece of very old lace. Just a paper punch. And this pocket, this just swings out just for the fun of it. And it has sandy toes, freckled nose. It's got a little picture of this, I don't know if you can see it, this child on the beach. I love that picture. Oh, and then I've got these children. And that just holds that in there. And this, she can unpin and use it in a slow stitch project if she wants. It's got a little poem on it and a piece of my dried hydrangea from my garden because it was pale blue. But these are some of my favorite laces. I don't know if you can see. They're just like wisps. They're just so delicate. But I was just imagining on them like a pinafore or something, or what the ladies would wear. I don't know. I just thought they just looked beachy to me. Not that I would wear a pinafore to the beach, but anyway, there's a pretty beach photo. And these little fussy cut, the lanterns, and this tiny little lantern. This is, oh, a doily, a little, one of the little doilies, coffee-stained doily that's folded to make several pockets. And that tiny little lighthouse that goes right there. And then a bigger lighthouse, and then another fussy cut, which can go somewhere, or just used to jot a date or something on it. I like to use a lot of small, weird things like that. Another piece of vintage lace that I actually left alone. And here's another, this is a little vintage applique that I put a little piece of my mermaid's tear. I keep calling it mermaid's tears, that's what I call it, but they're sea glass pieces. And these bottles I printed out of vellum. So I put notes in them, like, the beach is my happy place. I'll probably not get it in there now. And nothing but blue skies, that one says. But they come out and she can write on the back or just enjoy the sayings. I made that little thingy. A friend gave me these little cabochon, clear cabochons, and I just put S in there for sea or sand. And this delicate little doily I wanted to put in there because it just is so fine. It's like a super fine netting. And this cute little girl, she's behind this the photo album frames, and this is one of my favorites. I'm sure you've seen that a lot everywhere. I don't remember which kit that came from. And here's another piece of old lace and a mother of pearl heart. Journaling space. A little bit of seaweed. A little bit of cheesecloth. And behind this anchor is a pretty ship and a boy in his boat, a little sailor boy, and then just some pretty colorful cards that I thought were cute. That's why I put this shell over here, is to catch the other side. I think this was this way. Well, I'll go through it before I send it off and get everything fixed correctly and put my note in there. And this little slide holds this little girl dressed in her little sailor suit. And she just tucks in there. And this, I just used a charm on a piece of trim that is beautiful colors. The color that I went by to dye my laces and stuff, I just wanted that color. So I came pretty close. Anyway, I used a charm, metal charm, and a real seashell to secure the items under this pocket. And it is just another envelope, which has journaling cards in. Just a plain envelope. And this is a large piece of paper. It's a really pretty, but I printed the lines on the back, and it has a journaling card in it. Let's put it this way. And then this little book is just a very raggedy, a very primitive, quickly made book, a little notebook, just with pages that she can jot memories or something on. That I was just messing around with, but I'm including that, even though it's nothing special. And then there's a little piece of Velcro there, and it keeps it all secure. This just reminded me of waves on the other piece of the other half of that pretty old doily, and some dyed cotton. I love that boat. Some more journaling cards behind these fussy cut shorebirds. Oh, and this is a piece of the tracing paper that I printed this pretty page on of the seagulls. And then some trim and some lace. And some more little journaling cards. And this is a tiny little envelope that she could put something in. I put a little bling on that heart. She can put one of her favorite beach pictures there. And again, this little girl is tucked behind this little photo album frame. She goes in there a little bit better than that, but. And here is a heart-shaped rock that I like to find at the beach. I collect them, and I send them off once in a while to a special friend in Connecticut. And this one was just sitting there, and I thought I'm going to have to put that in here. I like the heart-shaped rocks. I find them quite often, actually. Just some trim and lace, and just a little journaling card up here. And this pocket in the back just has an envelope. It has Velcro. It has a couple of journaling cards in it, but she can fill it with whatever she wants, and a larger card to write on. And that is the end of the Seaside Journal. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm I am currently working on a beach journal. So I will be sharing that in a couple weeks. Thanks for joining me, and thank you for all who like this, and subscribers, and just spending time viewing it. I appreciate your time, and a huge thank you to the digital designers, because doing this is just so relaxing, and it's just gets you through a lot of some of the not so good times. You can come in and just start either printing or fuzzy cutting or gathering or whatever, but it's really relaxing, takes your mind off things, and I usually I can't wait to get in here and start making stuff. So thank you to all of you talented ladies and gentlemen. So I will see you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.